Parker's podcast. I'm Rose Parker, and this is Francel.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the beginning of our relationship, and we're going to recap a little bit about last week and how we got to where we are today. That's what we're talking about, is our journey, what got us to this point.
With a big disclaimer. This is before Jesus.
Oh yeah, this is well before our walk with Jesus. We just want to make sure everyone understands that. But when we were talking last week a little bit about how like the family dynamics were different. You know, my family was a little more open than your family. There's still some hesitance in regards to us in our relationship, but we made it through a lot of it.
Well, shoot, half of your family was mixed race anyways.
Yo, that's really funny. I remember the first time you came to one of our family reunions and you're like, are we in the right place? There's a lot of people that are my complexion here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what do you mean? This is my family.
Truly, I was nervous anyways because you were my first experience in that realm.
What, are you afraid to say your first black guy?
I mean, I had black friends, but yeah, you were my first black guy. I guess that saying is true. Once you go black, you never go back.
Thank you for finally admitting that to the world. Holy cow. It's been 20 years and you finally have just like admitted that it is true.
Okay.
But the funny thing to me is, you know, the journey to getting married, once I knew 2 weeks after dating you that you were going to be my wife. Remember? And I bought you this promise/commitment ring, and I got down on one knee, and you're like, no. You better stand up. And I'm like, girl, just hush and let me say what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. How'd that make you feel?
Well, truly, I was just testing the waters. I was not interested in getting married. I was just interested in, seeing what this whole thing was about dating a black guy. There was no intention. Disclaimer again, before Jesus. And I don't know. I was scared when you said that. And I just definitely was not interested in marriage at that time.
And it's funny because later on that week, you had that R keychain. And like literally, I told you, I'm like, yo, you're going to be my wife. And you're like, yo, you're crazy. And I branded that R on my arm. And I don't know if that gave me brownie points or was it subtracting points, but it was really hard to gauge your thought process at that point.
Well, it was definitely freaked out because that's a little crazy.
Hey.
We'd only been dating a couple of weeks.
Listen, the hottest woman I ever dated, I had to lock it down. Mm-hmm. So how long after that did we get married?
Well, we got married just under 4 months.
Yeah.
But we knew each other for years prior, so you can't.
Really though?
We did.
Really though?
I mean, not in that way, but we knew each other. We knew each other since 8th grade.
I think we knew of each other, but we never hung out or anything.
So from 1998 or 99, you didn't come until 99. 1999 until 2003, we knew each other. Not intimately, obviously, but then we started dating in 2003, got married in 2003.
So, exactly. Yeah. That's some perspective. Like we dated really quick.
But actually, when we got engaged, that's when we decided that we were going to start doing things right. And we decided we weren't going to live together. We weren't going to have sex anymore. We were going to make sure that we did things the right way. So about a month prior to getting married, we stopped having sex and we decided that we were going to do it the right way. Although I wasn't able to get married in a white dress, it is what it is.
How'd you get your wedding dress?
I didn't realize how many stories we actually have. God. Okay, so definitely still pre-Jesus. Dang, I didn't even want to have to go down this road. So...
just own it.
Yeah, my friend and I, we used to steal clothes. And I stole my wedding dress. And the time that we did do this, you were with me, you remember?
Yeah, it's the first time I had ever stolen
So he was the
anything.
good one and I was the bad one. And I took him with us to go steal all these clothes from the mall. And on our way out the door, he had like a panic attack right at the door. And I'm like, you literally cannot stop. Like, you have to keep going or we're all going down right now. And, oh God, this was terrible. So he had his, that zip up hoodie set.
Yeah.
Remember that? I forget what
South
that was.
Pole.
Mm-hmm. And had clothes stuffed down inside of there. Oh my God, this is terrible. Pre-Jesus. Pre-Jesus.
And even though it was pre-Jesus, I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to jail. I can't go to jail over some doggone clothes. But it's because we were broke. Mm-hmm. We were really poor.
We used to take those clothes and then take them to Plato's Closet. And we would get paid to give them the clothes that we never wore.
Yeah.
So that was pretty bad.
So that's how you got your wedding dress.
That's how I got my wedding dress.
Yep. And it's funny because that was 2 or 3 weeks before we got married. Mm-hmm. So even though we were trying to live right from a purity standpoint, there were like still other obstacles and things that we had to overcome to fully get right. And like, when on our wedding day, my father was there, my mom was there,
and
your mom was there too, right? And we got married initially we were supposed to get married at the Cheesecake Factory by my cousin James,
who's a judge.
Yeah.
And we had this whole wedding planned out. It was going to be in Columbus at the Cheesecake Factory. We had the hotel set. We had everything arranged, but your mom hated me.
I don't think she hated you.
Oh, no.
Hate is a strong word. I think she strongly disliked you.
Yeah, well, we can go with that. We are great friends now.
Friends?
So
what are you talking about? She loves you more than she loves me.
You're right. I have my own room up there at her house. So,
like, jeez.
But anyways, so we were planning on having this wedding, had all the details planned out, and I guess she just decided to cancel our wedding because technically the James was your cousin, so she had access to him, and she canceled the wedding, and we weren't aware of it. And I guess James called us, or maybe we called him to finalize details or something just prior to the wedding. And he told us, oh, Yolanda canceled the wedding. I was like, what?
Well, hold on. I need you to refer to her as my mom and not Yolanda, because if this does get big, she's going to want a percentage because you used her name.
Yes, that's true. She'll want the royalties. But anyway, so she canceled the wedding. And when you get a marriage license, you only have a certain number of months to get married. And so we were at the end of the marriage license, and so we ended up just going to the courthouse, scheduling it, which worked out because I like our wedding date, like the actual date, better than their initial one anyways.
Yeah.
And we went to the courthouse, and when we got there, I guess your brother called your dad. Actually, we have to go back a little bit because remember our first argument happened that morning.
You're right.
Everything was great up until the morning of our wedding.
Man, the best relationship I ever had in life. I'm like, man, this girl is the coolest, my best friend. We don't argue, we don't fight, nothing until the day of the wedding.
Well, my dad was a mechanic in the military. He worked on the big airplanes and stuff in the Air Force. And so growing up, I learned stuff like how to work on cars. And so we had a piece of crap car at the time. I think
that was the
Plymouth Acclaim. I don't think anyone even knows what kind of car that is.
I didn't even know what kind of car that was back then.
No. And so I went down. My dad obviously was not coming to the wedding because he was adamant, I could never marry a black man. And I went down. My mom was able to go, though. So I go to pick her up. And on the way back, we're coming down through the valley. And my entire muffler system fell off my car in the middle of an intersection. So who's out there in her wedding dress picking up the muffler? That was me. I got it in the back seat, and then we get back to the house. My mom goes in, and she's, excited for the wedding and everything, going in talking to your mom and your dad and you guys, and you. And next thing I know, Francel comes outside, and you're just yelling at me, what are you doing? Because I'm actually up underneath the car at this time trying to reattach the muffler because I knew how to.
In your dress.
In my dress. And so he was mad because I was out there, you know, getting a little dirty. I didn't care because I was kind of a tomboy at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't really care about the dress. But I was just trying to make sure we could get to the wedding without sounding ridiculous driving down the road. Well, he got mad, so we ended up I didn't finish doing it. We rode with your mom, I think, your mom and dad.
Yep.
But then when we get to the courthouse, your dad ends up getting a call from your brother.
And I don't know where he was at or what he was doing.
Mm-mm.
But Pops wasn't a fan of me getting married either. So it was interesting for him to say, "Oh, your brother needs me. I need to leave." I'm like, okay.
Yep, so he left, and he didn't make it back in time. So it was just mine and your mom and us, and then 2 random strangers that were walking down the hallway that came in to be witnesses.
Yeah.
But it was perfect. The funny part, though, is I'm not really much of a crier, I guess you could say.
Yeah, me neither.
You better stop. I'm not. You are. And so while we're standing there doing our vows, he's standing looking at me in his... Oh, I shouldn't laugh. He's trying to be sweet and sincere, but he's crying because it's so emotional for him. And so, you know, to me it was funny, and I'm laughing in his face. As we're getting married, it's supposed to be the most special and, you know...
Yeah.
Special day, and it just...
I wasn't crying as bad as you say I was. You know, the 2 girls that were the witnesses were crying, like crying.
You had tears coming down your face.
Well, I mean, I'm giving up my freedom.
That's not... You... Truly, I feel like you forced more of the marriage than I did, so you were willingly giving up your freedom.
Yeah, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you were crying. That was hilarious.
You didn't have to laugh at me like that, though. That was the part that was a little hurtful.
I don't know what to tell you about that.
So we get married, and what's really cool is when we got married, I was 19 and you were 18. Mm-hmm. So for our honeymoon, we had the coolest honeymoon ever.
We were definitely kids at heart still.
Oh, man.
So we went and played laser tag, and we went...
we went to the movies.
We went to the movies.
But
we
what
went
movie did we see?
I don't even remember the movie. The dumb part is when we got back to the hotel, well, first we had to go around the several hotels because since we weren't 21, they didn't want to rent a room to us.
Right.
And so we actually had to show proof of us getting married in order to let them even... let us run the room from them. And what happened? Oh, the alarm. Remember the alarm? The clock in the room was the wrong time, which we didn't know. And we set it the next morning for like an hour before the checkout time, which we ended up checking out like 2 hours late because obviously we stayed up all night. And yeah, that was pretty funny. So we spent our whole night doing just the most random little kid stuff.
100%. Mm-hmm. A hotel room full of snacks, like junk food snacks. Mm-hmm. And we should have known what time it was because, you know, laser tag and the movie. I mean, but we were just lost in it. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a great day. It was a great day. And then we fast forward to literally or exactly 9 months later.
Well, it was more like 10.
Okay, 10 months later.
Yeah.
And we have, well, hold on. Before he was born, we found out you were pregnant because we had went to Six Flags.
Oh, yeah. So we conceived Lovey on our wedding night.
Literally.
And we only were able to deduct that day because we were being good and not having sex prior to marriage, or like a month prior. And at the time when we found out, we had just gone to Six Flags. I'm riding all the roller coasters, and I started getting like a weird pain in my stomach. And so eventually we ended up having to leave because it was like really hurting. And the lady asked, well, are you pregnant? No, I'm not pregnant. Well, they gave me a pregnancy test and it came back positive. And so that was news to us.
Yeah.
But I think we were we were a few months along at that time.
Yeah, 2 months.
Because that's when she says, well, we're going to do an ultrasound to make sure the baby's okay. Okay, so they go in, do the ultrasound, and mid-ultrasound, the technician says, well, do you want to know the sex of the baby? And, for me, I was in a panic because that means, for real, you're having a kid. There's a baby in there. There's, not only are you pregnant, but we already know what you're having.
And the crazy part is I thought that was a little early.
It was early. Well, Francel was he's looking at the monitor.
I'm like, oh, man.
And
is that the umbilical cord?
And that's when the lady says, well, do you want to know the sex of your child? And me and him look at each other, and they're like, well, that's his penis.
I'm like, gosh, dang. Holy cow. Like, okay. Well, it's a boy.
Yep, so we found out we were having a boy.
And I'm telling you what, the adventures of just, finding a place to live, was crazy because at one point, now that I'm married to you and your father knows that you're having a child, we crashed at your parents' house for a couple months. Mm-hmm. Then we crashed at my parents' house. No, we got an apartment after your dad's house, wasn't it? Isn't that when we stayed in Mogador?
Yeah.
We stayed in Mogador for a while until we had a roof leak and black mold started growing. But I mean, staying at Mogador was awesome because we had adventures. Because Mogador is next to Ellet, which was kind of more of a ritzy area for Akron. And you remember we used to drive late at night on trash night, and people have random furniture out, and we had no furniture.
So we furnished our whole apartment from other people's furnishings.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I remembered since we were doing those late night drives, you remember all the drives that we used to, in the middle of the night, take off and go to West Virginia?
Oh, gosh. To the, what was that place called?
The Omelet Shop.
The Omelet Shop.
It's like a spin off of Waffle House.
It was not good, though.
No, it wasn't. But it was still, to this day, we'll stop in there just to, relive the memories.
But I think that's why we were able to date more concentrated than most people because gas was cheap. So we would just take off and drive to Toledo, Sandusky, Port Clinton. We would just burn gas. And I look back now, I'm like, man, I really miss those random road trips where it wasn't a financial investment.
I mean, we've done that with our boys.
Yes, but it's a financial investment now. I mean,
True.
Gas was under $1 back then.
I don't know if it was that cheap, but I don't remember.
Maybe $1.
I just know that it was a lot cheaper to drive around back then. $50 could get you to West Virginia and back.
Yeah.
And probably fed us too.
And it was nothing for people to say, hey, I'll give you $5 in gas money. You're like, $5? Heck yeah. Mm-hmm. Where you want to go? Yeah. But we used to ride all over the place. And then when I guess I'll be gentle when I tell this story because when you got to the later stages of your pregnancy, you blew up. And I mean, you go from maybe 98, 99 pounds to dealing with a thoroughbred baby inside of you. It was like, whoa! I'm like, gosh, dang. You remember? And I used to get Palmer's lotion.
Cocoa butter, yeah.
And I used to rub you down all over. I'm like, I'm sorry, you messing with a real one. I told you I was a thoroughbred. Your little body can't handle all this. I mean, you had stretch marks on your toe knuckles and everything.
Oh, God. You just need to stop. No. Yeah, it was bad, though. It was bad.
I think you had him 2 weeks early. Mm-hmm. And they were like, yo, if you were at full term, he probably would have been like 12 pounds or something crazy like that.
No, I think it was like 10. But, yeah, he was a big boy. He was 8 pounds, 7 ounces.
Yeah. 21 and a half inches long. Mm-hmm. And, man, when he came, I was like, this is my son.
Oh, my gosh. He was ridiculous.
Son. This Le'Veon.
Held him up like Lion King in the middle of delivering. I'm like, really?
That's my boy.
Then, of course, this is the second boohoo moment. Crying like a big baby.
No.
Yes.
I was not. I was not crying. It was just
happy tears.
An expression of my seed will live on. It's like, yeah.
You're so annoying.
This dude is huge. He's a monster. He's gonna do some things. Mm-hmm. Yep. And you didn't even want to hold him.
No, because for one, I didn't really want kids to begin with, and he used to tell me he wanted a starting lineup of a basketball team.
5.
Yeah, I was
5
not okay
boys.
with that. But when they put, after you have a baby, you have, like, they're yucky. They're covered in slime and gross.
They're in a towel.
Not at first. They just lay them on you. And so as soon as they put them on me, I'm like, oh my God, get them off, get them off, get them off. And I was freaking out because I didn't want them. I'm like, let his dad hold him first. I don't care. Like, clean him up before I hold him.
And they wrapped that dude up. I held that boy and I'm like, yes. Le'Veon James. That's a strong name. Strong name. And then my brother had to mess it up for me. He was like, yo, we're going to call him LL. Because ladies love Le'Veon. I'm like, gosh, dang, man, he's a baby. Don't put that on him right now. And, man, I'm telling you what.
It followed him through life.
You could have called my brother Miss Cleo. I'm telling you. I'm like, dude, leave the girls alone, man. Just leave them alone. He's like, Dad, I can't leave the girls alone. They won't leave me alone. I'm like, oh, gosh. So I talked to him the other day. I was like, what would wreck your world is if I just, while you were asleep, shaved a line right down the middle of your head. He was like, don't play. Don't.
That's like his Achilles heel.
It is.
Shave that boy's curls.
Oh man, he would go nuts. But that's Le'Veon. That's the oldest, the first one. And dude, it was a trip. Your dad did a 180 immediately. I mean, he came to the hospital that night, and we have the photo of him holding him, and he was so proud to hold his grandson, which really
yeah, he didn't even hold him like this. He held him like this. He just had to look at him.
He was like, oh man, this is my grandson. And I'm telling you what, in so many aspects, he's like your pops.
Oh God. He's
wearing cowboy boots right now, for Pete's sakes. And I'm like, yo, you're from Akron, Ohio. You're from the city. Why are you wearing boots now? And he has created his own country accent that he speaks with now. And I'm like, no one in your family talks like this.
His own persona.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time fisherman, just like your pops.
And hunting. All of it.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fisherman too, but I mean, I'll give it to your pops.
Yep. And I think he's as crazy as he is because of the roller coasters.
Oh.
That's the only thing that makes sense.
Dude, the way that guy searches for situations to get his adrenaline pumping is insane.
Trying to kill himself 3 days in a row out on the kayaks.
And that was just last month.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it was 2 weeks ago. You're right. Yeah. It's just, that's why we pray for him specifically a lot. A lot. It was funny. I was talking to my dad this morning. He was like, man, we had to pray you through a lot of your stuff too. You were crazy just like he is. I'm like, Dad, but my life was never in jeopardy. Yeah, I was randomly out with friends in places I wasn't supposed to be, but I never once had to, hey, yeah, I'm just floating out in the ocean and my kayak sank, or, hey, I just caught this rattlesnake with my bare hands. Now I need a pistol. Some of the things that he has said, I'm like, yo, if I did not know Jesus, how would I control my anxiety?
The first water moccasin he caught, I could have went to jail. I whooped that boy so good.
What does that? Time out. What does that look like? You whooped him so good. Explain to me what that looks like. Oh, front hand, back hand at the same time.
I mean everything. Oh my gosh. I told him,
he was 7, wasn't he?
Yes, I'm like, if you would have got bit, you wouldn't even made it home to tell me you got bit. You would have been dead in the road, laying there somewhere.
Yeah.
His sister came home and told me.
And what's crazy is, his fascination with animals has been his entire life. I mean, when he was 2 years old, he didn't watch Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon or anything. He really just
wanted Animal Planet.
Yeah,
Animal Planet.
All day, all night, in his bedroom, watching Animal Planet.
Discovery Channel.
Discovery Channel. Yep.
Seth is the same though. He loves all that.
Oh, dude, yeah. I remember Seth was, Seth is literally 18 months apart. They're 18 months apart, right?
Just almost.
Yeah. So Seth came in a little bit after, but when we were in our first year in Florida at the apartment, I will never forget this. They were in there jumping off the top bunk of the bunk bed. And you were like, you need to go in there and get those boys before they get hurt. And my thought process has always been just a little bit different. So I went in there. I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, we're jumping off the bed. And I was like, well, if you're going to do it right. At least take the bottom mattress off of the bunk bed.
So instead of fixing the problem, he enabled them to jump off the bed.
Safely,
I guess.
Yeah. Yep. Because that's what it's about. I mean, you can't always say no. Sometimes you just have to say yes. But in this scenario, you just corral it to where it's safer.
I don't know.
They didn't get hurt.
No, not that time, but we've dealt with broken bones and...
Not when they were little.
No, that's when football came into play.
Or a handstand in the parking lot.
It wasn't the parking lot. It was in Jeremy's in his living room. In your brother's living room.
I thought they were outside.
But we don't have time for that one.
Oh, man, we got so many stories. So many stories. But that's what makes it interesting. It's like the life adventures that we shared together. I mean, I'm thinking right now of like 5 or 6 different stories that we just have to put on air because people are going to be like, there's no way that actually happened. Oh, I got 2 minutes. Check this out. When we were first dating and we were still broke, and I think you were pregnant. Remember, I paid $37 and signed a waiver to go wrestle a bear?
So we weren't dating. We were married.
We were married.
I was pregnant.
You were pregnant.
And I was probably 8 months pregnant or 9 months pregnant. I was like huge. And we went downtown Akron and we were jumping from bar to, well, actually, no, I think we went specifically for that one.
There. It was Posh at the time, wasn't it?
I don't remember
I
the
think
name.
It was Posh.
But we went down to the bar for you to wrestle a bear. And he signed the waiver for you not
because I would have won $1,000.
Yeah, but the waiver was that your family couldn't sue in case of injury or death.
Yep.
Which $1,000 really isn't really worth your death, but...
We were young.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there were like 10 guys that signed up to do this. And the guy that went before me got shredded. I mean, people think that the bear didn't have claws or had a muzzle on. There was no muzzle on that bear. And he had huge claws and literally ripped that dude's chest open before I went in there.
He probably went to the hospital after
He
that.
had to have gone to the hospital. And I go in there. And I'm like, okay, I used to wrestle. I'm going to slam this bear. And literally, I go in there and I flip that bear over and it's boom.
And then you're on top of him tearing.
The whole nightclub is like cheering though, which is like boosting my ego. And I'm like, yeah, bear.
It didn't take much to boost your ego.
Oh, okay. But I'm on top of the bear now. And I'm like,
don't worry, I'll keep you humble.
Yeah, bear. You ain't know you was going to deal with a Francel. Look at this. And I'm on top of the bear. And the way that you have to win is you have to get the paws flat, chest to chest, face to face with that bear. And I would get this arm down, and then this one would pop up. And so you're teetering back and forth. And it was like you had to break his shoulder blades in order to win. So, you know, everyone in the audience is like, yeah, you won. You won. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. And they're like, no, you didn't win because at no point did both paws.
It was the shoulders. Both shoulders touch. You had to keep them up, but both shoulders had to touch.
Yeah.
But it was physically impossible. We realized
later. Because the bear's back
later.
is like rounded. But I walked out unscathed, and I had the respect of the people, and they chanted my name.
And no one knew who you actually were after that.
Yeah, that's true.
We never seen another day in our life.
Hey, man, I can't, see, man, I can't relish in nothing.
You can relish in all you want.
Yeah.
But I'll bring you back down.
They cheered my name. Francel. No?
You're ridiculous.
Yeah, but it was a good time. We've done all kinds of crazy things. Yep. Well, that's all the time we got for this week. What did I used to say? Who used to say that? So just chill till the next episode, right? What was that, Dr. Dre?
I have no idea.
I don't remember. But we'll catch you guys next week. This is Francel and Rose with the Parker's Podcast.